the top, baby, don't stop. You can have it, you can have it all. Let's go to the top, baby, don't stop. Love, joy, peace, good life and family. We'll get success. Let's go.
Hey, welcome to the Jewel Tankard Show. I'm super excited about today's show. You know, we love to focus on faith, family, and finance, and today is going to be a little bit of all three. I got one of my favorite girlfriends here, Miss Phaedra Parks, okay? So you don't want to miss it. You need to call your girlfriends, mama, sister, all of them, because she's going to be talking about how she balances it all. Don't you want to know? I know I do. Stay tuned.
Impact is digital. Impact social.
Impact is enduring, laying a foundation for generations to come, imparting principles and setting standards that persevere, providing education, giving motivation, and inspiring imagination, sowing seeds of courage, self-worth, and significance. The Impact Network for the spirit, soul, and body. Impact is yours.
Welcome back to the Jewel Tankard Show right here on Impact Network. Millionaire Madness. Woohoo! Pay attention, get your notes. Millionaire tip of the day, stop spending all your money. Now, some of y'all don't need to go get no full set right now. And I know you want a new weave, honey, but you got to count your coins because you cannot grow your wealth if you always spend it. Listen, I'm just like any other girl. I love to shop, and I love a good deal. And as a matter of fact, sometimes my family be like, Mom, you are on our nerves because you're always talking about, do you have a coupon in here? And then I got that little retail, what is that? Retail Me Not app. You need to get that app if you don't have it, because when you go into like Bed Bath & Beyond, Target, you can put in the little search engine, the name of the store, and if they have any coupons, it'll come up. And a lot of times you can save a lot of money. You know, there's this whole couponing movement that I know ladies that are, saving tons and tons of money. Now, you may not have the patience to sit down and coupon, because I know I don't, but I definitely respect the hustle. But I do want to encourage you, challenge you in your spending. Just sit down, and this is another good thing that I really want you to do. There is an app called Neat, N-E-A-T, just like clean up, Neat. You can download Neat, and it'll help you to keep a tab of like all your expenses. So every time you go to the grocery store, you go fill up the tank. Every time you spend any kind of money, you get a receipt. You take it, and you just take your phone, and you take a picture of it, and then it'll go, you can send it, then basically it stays in your Neat app, and it'll categorize it like your groceries, utilities, mortgage, so you can see all of your expenses right there. As a matter of fact, I had to pull some things for my husband that he's working on, and he needed receipts for AT&T. So I was like, I'm not at home. I'm in Detroit right now, no problem. I was able to just go right there in my Neat app, pull that AT&T receipt out, forward it right to him. It was so nice. And so there are things like that that can help you watch your spending, because sometimes you don't realize how much you're spending until you look up. You're like, man, by the time I got my full set and a number 2, going to the store, give me number 2. No, you don't need to buy no number 2. Wear your natural hair. If you wear your natural hair, you can save some money. Okay, so you're going to have to make sure you look at it. Do I need to get a new weave right now? Do I need to get a full set right now? And listen, I am all about you looking good. So understand this. I'm not going to ask you to cut every kind of corner, because I believe in order for any man or woman to be their best, you need to look your best. At the same time, I do want you to monitor your spending. I mean, let's just take, for example, if you go to Starbucks all the time and you're spending $5, you know, for a latte, okay? $5, and you do that every day. $5 times 30 days, that's $150. Honey, you could have put that money towards an Index Universal Life policy and started working towards your retirement, working towards making sure you have life insurance. So I think that it's very important that even though we are, most of us want nice things in life, we want it big, we want to dream big, we want to live big and all of that, But understand that there are basic things that you need to be doing every single day where your spending is concerned, and you have to watch your spending because nobody else is going to watch your money. And I can tell you something, you can get your tax return this year. When you get your tax return, if you didn't get it yet, when you get it, just say, you know what, I'm not going to spend it all to pay bills. At some point, you have to start investing to create more money. That's right. You have to start investing to create more money. Because if every year for the last 5 years, you done took your tax return and went to the mall and spent all your money and all that kind of stuff, that's fine. So make sure you take note. Watch your spending. In the news, okay? There are top 5 things that you need to be doing. Number 1, start investing as soon as possible. Now, this is where I think parenting comes into play and why it's important to have family meetings where you can sit down and talk to your children. And trust and believe, Ben and I, this is an ongoing thing. So by no means am I acting like we got it all together, but I will tell you what we do and what we're trying to do and what we're trying to accomplish. We'll sit down with our children and say, okay, how much money are you making on average in a month? Okay, do you have life insurance? Do you have health insurance? I mean, those are just basic things that if you don't have somebody reminding you, you just go through life and your priorities will be all out of whack. You'll be getting this and getting that and doing this, and you don't even have basic health insurance and basic life insurance. So you got to make sure that those are things that you put into play. So when you start talking about having discretionary income or, oh, I got an extra $1,000, yay, it's time to go turn up at the mall. No, it's not time to go turn up at the mall. What it's time to do is say, you know what, this might be a good opportunity for me to get 3 months ahead on my life insurance or 6 months ahead on my health insurance, making sure that you have the basics in place. When I say basics, I mean basics in terms of investing, because everybody needs to have those things. And I also want to encourage you that you don't have to be making a whole lot of money to start. You could be making very little. Even if you have an extra $100 a month, you might want to say $30 I got to take and I have to start saving. Another thing, real quick, use discretionary income as investment income. Separate emotions from objectives. Invest in something that you understand. Don't just take your friend's word from it. And then keep your cash reserve and investment money separate. I hope this helped you. We'll be right back after this break.
Congratulations to the Impact Network and its founders, Apostle Wayne T. and Dr. Beverly Y. Jackson, for now becoming the only African-American founded and operated international Christian TV network, bringing the gospel to Africa, including over 40 countries and 900 million viewers. We salute you.
Welcome back to the Tankard Show on Impact Network, and I am super excited. I'm sitting here with my sister girlfriend, yes, Miss Phaedra Parks herself, the Southern Belle. This woman is doing it all. I am super, super proud of you and so excited you came on the show. Yay!
I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
So, you know, I want to jump right into it because I know you have a phenomenal book out called Secrets of a Southern Belle. So who is this book for?
Well, it's really for, well, really men and women.
Okay.
It goes from the cradle to the grave. I talk about everything from how to throw a fabulous event to wear the proper undergarments and how to be successful as a young woman, as a mature woman, you know, throughout the different, you know, phases of life. So it really spans all age groups, but it's a great teaching tool for mothers and daughters or for young ladies who are getting ready to enter into the workforce.
I think that's so good because I think we live in a day and time now where I don't know how much teaching is really going on, you know what I mean, to our young ladies. They just don't have the class and they just haven't been taught a lot of times. So I think this is phenomenal, and you're right. I think it'd be great for mothers and daughters to have that time to discuss that. And of course, you know, Ben and I are so proud of you. I think you're doing an amazing job as a mother, as a wife. You're an attorney. You're obviously a reality star on Bravo, Family Channel, with Real Housewives of Atlanta. How do you feel like you've been able to balance it, and do you ever feel like days where you're like, I just can't, I'm overwhelmed?
Well, I think it, you know, just becomes a point in time where we have to realize that Rome wasn't built in a day, and neither were successful people. Everything has its proper time and, you know, its purpose under the sun. So I'm always, first of all, saying, you know, my first priorities are my children. I've got two beautiful boys, as you well know. And so I'm a mom first, and then comes the law firm, and then comes the funeral home, and then comes the TV show. And I just try to put everything in perspective, because no woman can do everything. You know, I think it really takes a village. When people say that, it does. And I mean, I have a strong support team behind me. My mom is always with me, who helps me out, and she's a great rock. But I have a great staff at the funeral home. I have a great staff at the law office. And so it takes a lot of people to
really run.
To run it successfully. And, you know, and it's a lot of different moving parts. But, you know, at the end of the day, if something doesn't get done, I don't beat myself up. I'm just like, okay, well, it will happen tomorrow.
Right. So let me ask you this. Do you feel like every entrepreneur, girl boss, and particularly gets to that point where you're like, okay, if my business is going to go to the next level, I got to get some support? Or do you feel like you could actually accomplish all that you accomplish without the help?
Well, I think, and you know, anytime you're an entrepreneur, I think, first of all, you have to be financially fiscal. And meaning that in the event you don't sell anything, you have enough money to take care of yourself for 6 months without a worry.
That's good.
Because I think a lot of times people jump into businesses without doing the proper research and preparation. And I always say, when preparation meets opportunity, success happens. And, you know, people either are going to be prepared and have the opportunity, or, you know, they're not going to be prepared and be presented an opportunity, and they're not going to be able to perform properly. And so with every business I'm in, whether it be the funeral home, the law business, or even television, before I do anything, I make sure that I'm certified and I'm qualified.
That's good. All right, girl, I love that. You heard that. Okay. So I guess even with you being successful, those teams weren't always there. What did you start doing to try to pull that team together? Were you praying? Were you asking around? Did you, you know, put ads out saying that I'm looking for an assistant, or what did that look like?
Well, with the law firm, my assistant, you know, of course, in a law firm, you're looking for a whole different set of skills. But the assistant that worked for me at my original law firm, she had a sister, and so when I decided to branch out on my own, she says, okay, my sister will help you. But I'd had other assistants who did not, you know, really fit the skill set. And so when she came, she's been with me now for over 10 years. But, you know, I did what's conventional. I asked people, I put out ads, I've always used interns, I've always went to the better schools and even the worst schools, and asked, you know, for people who want to work.
You asked for people who wanted to work. So you heard that, okay? She asked for people who want to work. We'll be right back after this break.
Impact is digital. Impact is reaching. Impact is healing. Healing for the spirit, for the soul, and the body. Healing for the generations. Healing for our cities, and healing for the nations. Healing yesterday's wounds, bringing today's hope and tomorrow's prosperity. The Impact Network, for the spirit, soul, and body. Impact is yours.
Welcome back to the Jewel Tankard Show on Impact Network, and I'm sitting here with my sister girlfriend, Miss Phaedra Parks. Yes, ma'am. I mean, and she is weighing in, and this is so good. I think this is really good conversation. You know, we were just talking about how you kind of went out to find that help. I mean, you could have easily just talked about how hard everything is, but you started actually taking action because you realized in order for me to go to the next level, I have to put some you know, I got to put some skin in the game, and I got to get aggressive about finding people. I think there's another thing that I want to hit, because I think that a lot of young people kind of feel like they're entitled to stuff, and, you know, it's just supposed to happen, it's just supposed to show up just because they're there. But talk about your work ethic and some of the things that you've done to get you where you are.
Well, you know, like I think we've discussed this before, but when I became a practitioner lawyer, I was the first woman and the first person of color to integrate my first law firm.
All right,
and that is in 1999.
What?
In Atlanta. And so in Atlanta, a city that's predominantly black, you would not think that you would have a law firm that had never hired a person of color or a woman as a lawyer. And so, I mean, I grew up in an era where hard work was essential. And, you know, I went into the law firm, and even though I had a Juris Doctorate degree and had been to school for many years, I made coffee. I did whatever I needed to do to keep that job and to learn how to be a good attorney. And so many times you get young people who, they want the end product, but they don't want to do the hard part. You know, you can't get bread without growing wheat and making it. You
all
know
right now,
so
all right.
Everybody want to sip tea, but nobody want to make bread.
That's so good. So now, okay, so what do you think are some of the things that are important to instill in your children to make sure, because I mean, clearly our children are blessed, you know what I mean?
Definitely.
And I think it's that balance, because it's like, you know, I want to give our children everything we didn't have. At the same time, I'm not trying to like ruin them because now they don't know how to work. What do you think you're going to do for the boys? Because they're so adorable.
Well, even now with my children, and, you know, one of my sons is 20 months old and the other's 4, I still, you know, I of course have people that help around the house, but I still make them take off their clothes, put them in the dirty clothes. I make them wipe the table after they finish eating. I mean, because I want them to know how to do things. We make recipes together, because I want my boys to know how to cook. I want them how to clean. I want them to be able to be self-sufficient. And so even though I have all this stuff, this is what I built for myself. So it's not going to be any free rides. I'm not going to let them suffer now. I'm not going to put them back 100 years. But they will know how to rake the yard. And they'll just know about work ethic, because you know, to be successful, I think you need to be the first person to arrive and the last one to leave when you first come into a job. So good. So many people want to come 2 minutes before the office opens and leave a minute before it closes. And that's not how you become an extraordinary employee. That's just not how you do it.
Yeah, that's really good. You know, you also, and I don't know how many people know this, but I love this organization that you kind of pull together, where you really have a heart and a passion to help to mentor African-American men. And you pull together some phenomenal men in the community that we know of. I think Judge Mathis. Talk a little bit about that program, and why did you feel like that was so important to do that?
Well, you know, I started the SOS program, which is Save Our Sons, and it's also Save Our Sisters and Save Our Schools. But I started it after my husband went to prison, because I realized that sometimes God allows us to be in a position so that we can, you know, learn from it, but also help other people. And I know it's got to be a lot of other women out there who find themselves in a position where they become a single mother and they have boys that they need to raise. And so many times our young black boys don't have the right role models, because it, you know, it is only a mom in the household. And so I think for a young man to be a strong young man, he needs to have the proper prototype. That's another man. And so I reached out to Judge Greg Mathis, and he was like, "Phaedra, I'm on board." I reached out to Jeff Johnson. And they came together. They said, "We'll sit on the board." You know, Chef G. Garvin. And they said, "Whatever you need." I reached out to the White House, and they gave me, you know, the whole program for My Brother's Keepers, David Johns. And so it was a group of people who just, they believed in my vision, because I said, I'll put the finances behind it, but I wanted to make it powerful. I wanted to make it powerful for them, but to really bridge the gap between generations, because there's sometimes a disconnect between older men and teenagers and young boys.
You're right. Wasn't that so good? I love it. I love it. We'll be right back after break.
One day, when the glory comes, it will be ours.
Dr. King, what's your next move?
In March from Selma to Montgomery.
Selma is loud for every man, woman, and child.
We will not wait any longer.
In front of a crowd.
Mine eyes have seen the glory. Glory, glory, hallelujah.
Welcome back to the Jewel Tankard Show right here on Impact Network. Man, we were having some really good conversation. So you're talking about what's on the horizons for you. Save Your Sisters is what you want to do next. So what does that look like? Are you going into churches, venues? Where does that look like?
Well, you know, I'm always at home in the church. I'm a PK, preacher's daughter, double PK. Both of my parents are pastors, so I know the church better than any place else.
Yes.
But, you know, Save Our Sisters is, I want to sort of mirror the Save Our Sons and Save Our Schools to do the same thing. I want to bring out accomplished women who can impart wisdom and knowledge on the generations of women sitting there, you know, and give them the tools that they need to be successful. But I would also love to tour it in churches, because I think, you know, it used to be a time where the church was where black people found hope and stability. And I think it's time for us to go back to our roots, because now we have strayed so much from the church. And we see everything happening like Ferguson and, you know, Trayvon Martin, all of these things, because I think that we have lost contact with what made us who we were as a people.
So good.
And so I would love to do a church tour, because I think it's very powerful, and the time is right to do it.
That's awesome. So where are you going to launch it? Do you know yet? What city?
I don't know. Of course, I love Atlanta because that's my home, but Chicago is my #1 market, followed by the Maryland, D.C. area.
Okay.
But, you know, where they invite me, honey, I do travel, honey. I got a passport, some license. You know, I got those traveling papers, so I can just go on, honey, and I ain't on the Underground Railroad.
I love it. So now, I know your mom plays like a big part in your life, which I think is so special, because I don't think we ever outgrow wanting to have that parental attention, that affirmation, that support. And so I really love that relationship between you and your mom. Now your mom, she's going to be involved with the Save Your Sisters too, right?
Yes. Hopefully she will. You know, my mom's a pastor, and so she's busy with her church, but she will come out, you know, when I ask her. And we've got a great relationship, and I'm not any different than any other woman. You know, you go through that terrible adolescent stage and you think you're smarter than your mom, but then you get pregnant and you have a baby and your mom's the only one that you trust in the room so they don't kill you.
That's right.
You know, during childbirth. So, you know, I'm glad that we're best friends now. She is my best friend. I can call her. And, you know, at the end of the day, you know your mom has your back.
Absolutely.
You know, no matter what, you know, whether you make good decisions, bad decisions, you know that your mom is always going to be there to give you that very solid advice.
Oh, it's so good. I
just like you and Cyrene.
Like that, baby. So now with your Save Your Sisters, I know you probably have your mom teaching on, you know, parenting and all that kind of stuff. And so I think that her voice, your voice in this time that we're living in, is so tremendously important. So now, Miss Phaedra, it's time for what would you do? It's a little game we play.
Oh my.
So I'm gonna ask you what you would do, and then you just gotta weigh in on whatever you would do. All right, Kimberly from Las Vegas is a single mom with no financial support from the daddy. She has lots of great business ideas and is passionate about public speaking with no startup money. If you were Kimberly, how would you take a passion of speaking and turning it into profit?
Well, I think the first question is what is she qualified to speak about?
Well,
you know, I think sometimes we want to do something, but we don't want to really hone into what it is that we're qualified to do, you know, because no one's going to come see you speak if you're not an expert in the subject that you're speaking on. So you've got to make yourself valuable in the marketplace before you can try to gain money from it. Because, you know, like even with myself, I worked in the funeral home for free, and I've never made a penny off of any funeral I've done, ever, because I wanted to be an expert. And in order to be an expert, sometimes you have to volunteer so you can learn the lay of the land. So I would tell Kimberly, get your certification and qualification, and if you just love to talk all the time, become an operator, honey. AT&T, T-Mobile, honey. Go get one of these phone companies. You can help. May I help you?
Right. I love it.
Get your receptionist job.
You said get your receptionist job. I love it.
But save your money, because in order for you to be successful at it, you're going to have some money saved up, because people are just not, I mean, when you think about the huge speakers, you know, Joel Osteen, you know, Les Brown, I mean, that didn't happen overnight.
Exactly.
They had to really, invest a lot of time and groundwork.
Yeah, and I was thinking about how she was saying she didn't have any financial support for her you know, from her child's father. Now, you know me, I'm like, persevere through that.
Yes, ma'am.
Show that you did not need him to take good care.
That's right.
Not just for him, for you. And for your child, that you didn't need him to be successful.
Start selling Dida's tea. Everybody's selling it now. And waist trainers. You know, get your little business on the side. Do nails, do some, you know, braid hair. I don't know.
Yeah.
Some, you know, find something you can make some money.
Right, absolutely.
And be willing to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm so excited you came on the show.
I'm excited that I was able to come.
Oh,
this is awesome. It's always good to see you.
Well, I love you. You know, Ben and I appreciate you and the whole Tankard clan. You know, we got your back, baby.
That's right.
But listen, you heard it live. I hope you took some good notes today, because that was just really, really, really good stuff from someone that has mega success. So keep watching, because we still got a little bit more. We'll be right back after this break.
Impact is
Social.
Impact is fearless, unafraid to speak the truth in love, committed to be a voice for those who have no voice, and ready to listen. Prepared to stand up for what is right, no matter the consequence, working to correct injustice, whether political or social. The Impact Network, for the spirit, soul, and body. Impact is yours.
Welcome back to the Jewel Tankard Show right here on Impact Network. I know you were so blessed. Wasn't that good? Miss Parks was so fabulous. I hope you took some good notes. Hopefully now you're ready to get your grind up and on. Well, now it's time for Reality Watch. Yes, it is. Now, today we're going to be talking about Whitley, Kim Whitley. Now, everybody knows about the Whitley Show, and, you know, mega success. She's doing great things. How about her mentee drops off, or actually goes to the hospital, has the baby, leaves the baby at the hospital. The hospital calls Kim like, hey, we've been told that you're supposed to be coming to pick up the baby. Kim knew nothing about it, for real. But you know, you gotta give it to her, because what do you do when life throws you a curveball? What I love is Kim, you know what? She took ownership. She went to the hospital. She picked up the baby. I mean, who does that? I said, you know what, girl, you got a heart of gold. She goes to the hospital. She picks up the baby. She takes ownership of this precious baby. Then Kim's friend says, you know what? I'll be the baby daddy. Okay, and then all her best friends rallied around this precious little baby to show them love. She created a surrogate family. She could have easily complained. She could have easily been like, I don't know what you're talking about. She saved another child from going into the foster system, because you better know, if a mother leaves her child in the hospital, there's a lot going on, and that child probably wouldn't have been in her care anyway. So hats off to you, girl. Life threw you a curveball, but you turned and you took lemon into lemonade, and I'm sure now that baby's probably just like her own. And so you have to do that in your everyday life. When a curveball comes your way, say, you know what, let me take ownership. What's the answer? What's the solution? I promise you, you have the grace, because you're stronger than what you realize. And remember, you can have it all. I'll see you right back here next week on the Jewel Tankard Show. Deuces.